Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic. So this week, we are heading to Aether Revolt Standard to play a deck I am so excited about. I haven't been this excited to show off a Budget Magic deck in a long time. If you've been following me on Twitter, watching the stream, you know I've been dropping little hints about it, talking about it. Oh, this deck is just so sweet. So this is a deck I'm calling Marvelous Paradox. And as you can see, 89 bucks in the paper world, 39 ticks on Magic Online, so a pretty cheap price for an incredibly sweet deck. So a quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy Budget Magic and the other series here on the channel, it would be incredible of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk Marvelous Paradox. So the first part of the name, Marvelous, comes from Aetherworks Marvel. So I was actually drafting Aether Revolt the other day. Someone passed me an Aetherworks Marvel, and I started thinking about the card. And obviously, I know the card. It's fairly well known in Standard. Sees play in some popular decks. Was more popular before Emrakul got banned, but whatever. That's not the point of this. So as I was thinking about Aetherworks Marvel, I realized that it's pretty sweet when you can just get 6 energy, cast something powerful out of the top 6 cards of your deck. On the other hand, I realized it would be even sweeter if we had a way where we could use Aetherworks Marvel multiple times in the same turn, like a kind of a combo deck. So I started wondering if we had a way of untapping Aetherworks Marvel. That's kind of problem number one we needed to solve, is a way to untap it. So as I was thinking about this, I realized we have the perfect answer in Paradox Engine. So Paradox Engine and Aetherworks Marvel is kind of a 2-card combo. Aetherworks Marvel, it does actually cast the card. That's the important part here. And Paradox Engine says whenever we cast a spell, we untap all the non-land permanents we control. So when we tap Aetherworks Marvel and cast a card out of our top 6, Paradox Engine is going to untap our Aetherworks Marvel, which means if we have enough energy, we can just immediately tap the Aetherworks Marvel again, cast another spell, untaps with Paradox Engine. So that's kind of the combo of the deck. The trick, though, is making sure we have enough energy. And this is where the deck gets really sweet, because our basic plan is to activate Aetherworks Marvel as many times as possible in one turn, again and again and again, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, and the end result of all these activations is that we're going to win the game before our opponent even gets to untap. So the pinch now is energy. We have the Marvel, we have the way to untap the Marvel. Every time we tap the Marvel, it's gonna essentially untap itself, but we just gotta make sure we have enough energy to keep activating it. So I did a search on energy producers, started thinking about all the different cards that make energy, and the first one that popped up was Aethertide Whale. Aethertide Whale is essentially a free roll with our combo of Aetherworks Marvel and Paradox Engine. It adds back 6 energy, and that just happens to be the amount of energy it takes to activate an Aetherworks Marvel. So once we get Paradox and Marvel on the battlefield, we tap our Marvel. If we hit a Aethertide Whale in our top 6 cards, it enters the battlefield, untaps our Aetherworks Marvel when we cast it, and gives us back our 6 energy. So basically, we just get a 6/6 for free. We have untapped Aetherworks Marvel, we have 6 energy again, the same amount we spent to get the Aethertide Whale, so we can immediately activate the Aetherworks Marvel another time. Then I realized that once we have an Aethertide Whale, Pima Aetherseer is another free roll. So we get the whale down, then if we hit another whale, that's awesome, we get another spin on the Marvel. If we hit a Pima Aetherseer, that's awesome too, we get energy equal to the greatest power of our creatures, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, because sometimes it adds way more than 6 energy. But if we hit a Pima Aetherseer after the whale, that's another free roll. We untap our Aetherworks Marvel, get to tap it again, get all of our energy back, just keep going and going. So kind of the next step is Aetherwind Basker, and this is the crazy combo with Pima Aetherseer. So Whale is great to start with, then Pima Aetherseer is another free roll. So once we have the Whale, we have either Whale or Pima Aetherseer as hits that let us keep going with Marvel. We also will eventually have hits with Aetherwind Basker. So this does 2 things. As we are going through this process, eventually we're going to have a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, and when Aetherwind Basker enters the battlefield, we get energy equal to the number of creatures we control. So as long as we have 5 other creatures, Aetherwind Basker is also a free roll when it comes to our combo of Marvel and Paradox Engine. The other trick is, if we get an Aetherwind Basker down, and then we hit a Pima Aetherseer as we're comboing off, we can dump any extra energy we have into pumping up the Aetherwind Basker. So let's say we have 5 extra energy that we just aren't really using. With the Pima Aetherseer on the stack, we pump all that energy into Aetherwind Basker. That 5 energy will make it a 12-12, and then when Pima Aetherseer enters the battlefield, we're actually going to get 12 energy back. So for our 6 energy investment of spinning Marvel, we're actually doubling our energy. And as this combo goes, the power and toughness of Basker stays, so the second time we hit a Aetherwind Seer, we dump even more energy into it, and we get to the point where one Pima Aetherseer combined with having our Aetherwind Basker is going to gain us like 20 or 30 energy, which is a whole bunch of spins on Aetherworks Marvel. So even if we don't hit our free roll cards, the Aethertide Whale or Aetherseer, and we hit a random Puzzle Knot or something, we're still going to have enough energy to keep going. So this was my initial plan of the deck. I started playing with this build of the deck. It was really sweet, but I felt like I was fizzling a little bit too much. So I thought, well, what else could we do to give us another hit? We need another energy generator. And the epiphany that changed everything is Saheeli's Artistry. So this is the card that really changed how the deck plays. So it might not be obvious, but Saheeli's Artistry, when we hit it off our Aetherworks Marvel, ideally we'll already have a Whale or a Basker or something, but let's say we have a Whale on the battlefield, maybe a Puzzle Knot, which we play in the early game to help gain energy. When we cast Saheeli's Artistry, we copy the Whale, we copy the Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, or some other random artifact, and then that's gaining us 9 energy for our 6 energy investment with Aetherworks Marvel. That's pretty awesome in and of itself. Anytime we can get more energy out of our hit off Marvel than we're spending to activate Marvel, that's a good thing, because that's making up for when we might whiff and hit something not so great with our Marvel. The big deal, though, is our second Saheeli's Artistry. So we already have copied an Aethertide Whale. One of the tricks of Saheeli's Artistry is when it copies a creature, the token copy of that creature is an artifact. So the second time we cast the Saheeli's Artistry, we basically get to double copy whales. We copy the artifact whale with the first ability on Saheeli's Artistry. We copy any whale with the second ability. We get 2 whales from one flip of our Aetherworks Marvel, which means we're spending 6 energy, getting 12 energy. That buys us a whole nother flip to make up for a whiff. So as we do this, eventually we're going to have just a board full of Aethertide Whales, Aetherwind Baskers all over the place, some other just random stuff. We just go through our entire deck. We're seriously going to activate Aetherworks Marvel 10 or more times in the turn. So we get this huge board. The last step of the process is making sure we can win without letting our opponent untap, because if they untap and fumigate or can somehow kill us through what we're doing, all of our work goes for nothing. So the last thing we need is Spontaneous Artist. Spontaneous Artist is a way that we just give all of our stuff haste. When it enters battlefield, we get an energy. Now we can pay an energy and give a creature haste. So this is kind of the last thing we want to hit as we combo off. We get all our whales. We copy our whales a bunch of times. All these Pima Aetherseals getting energy from whales and Baskers. We have our Baskers. Then Spontaneous Artist comes down. Instead of using our energy to activate Aetherworks Marvel again, we just give 8 or 10 of our Aethertide Whales haste, our 40-40 Aetherwind Basker haste. We attack with everything, trample over, and win the game on the spot. So that's kind of the whole plan of this deck. Unlike other Aetherworks Marvel decks, even the Ulamog Aetherworks Marvel decks, we're not giving our opponent a chance to do anything. Once we start to combo off, our entire deck is designed to make sure that once we get that first activation with our Paradox Engine and our Marvel out, we just keep going and going and going until we eventually just win the game that turn. There's no letting our opponent untap, declaration and stoning our Ulamog or anything like that going wrong. The game is just going to end once we start playing our Aetherworks Marvels and all these spells off of it. As far as the rest of the deck, Servant of the Conduit helps ramp us into our Aetherworks Marvels, our Paradox engines. Rogue Refiner gains us some energy, draws us a card. Then we also have Attune with Aether, which lets us play a lower number of lands, and it also gains us some energy. 1 Glassblower's Puzzle Knot, 4 Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot that are really essential. Our deck is kind of built to win on turn 5. That's kind of our big turn most of the time. And Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot helps make sure we gain enough life to not die before turn 5. And then we have just 1 War of Invention. This helps us get our Paradox engine, helps us get our Aetherworks Marvel. Not good off of Aetherworks Marvel, but it helps set everything up. Other important thing to know is one of the things that makes this deck awesome is we can hit our Paradox engine off Aetherworks Marvel, and a lot of times that's our game plan. We play our Marvel on turn 3 or turn 4. On our first activation, probably at the end of our opponent's turn, we're actually looking for the Paradox engine most of the time. Once we hit the Paradox engine, then we untap and can go into our combo right away. So not only does Marvel let us combo off with Paradox engine, it also helps us find our Paradox engine to enable the combo. Mana base, Aether hubs, more energy production, some semi-janky duels, then a few basic lands to search up with our Attune with Aether. In the sideboard, we have negates and dispels to help force our combo through opponent's counter spells, protect our stuff from fragmentize or natural obsolescence, that type of removal. And then we have a bunch of removal to help against aggro decks, just slow our opponent down a little bit. Shock deals with Saheeli combo. Aether Meltdown is great against Heart of Kiran. Also gains us energy. Appetite gets any artifacts, and then a Confiscation Coup. I haven't actually cited in that often, but it seems sweet. And that is Marvelous Paradox for Aether Revolt Standard, and that's our budget magic for this week. So just go watch the videos. I'm not going to say anything else. This deck is super awesome. I hope my explanation wasn't too crazy and muddled. It will make a lot more sense once you're seeing it in action and seeing what this deck can actually do, because it is, oh man, it is just so awesome. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the gameplay videos, and I will talk to you soon.